Hello and welcome to this video tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to be taking a look at more advanced portaling, and we're going to be taking a look at how to portal this outdoor area without having to add too many more structural brushes to create them. And if we just take a quick look around here, you can see that I've actually removed the structural brushes that we added to create our basic cells, and I've also made the brushes that we used before, these garden walls that we used before to create our basic cells. I've turned these into detail brushes because we're not going to be using these to create our portals, so they don't need to be structural, so I've just made them detail. So what are we going to do exactly? Well, we're going to pretty much do exactly the same thing we did with our basic outdoor portaling, but we're going to replace the structural brushes we added with more portal brushes. And this means we have to take a quick look at some vital components of doing this, and that's what we're going to do now, so let's crack on. So to start with, we're going to take a look at some of the essential things we need to know before we can start creating our more advanced portals. And the first thing we need to do is we actually need to refer back to one of the first rules of creating a portal cell. And the first rule of creating a portal cell is, yep, you guessed it, creating a sealed environment. And if we take a look at these brushes, they are perfectly aligned. And in any other normal circumstance, this would mean that we've created a sealed environment within this space, right? However, when we're creating portal cells in this way, we run across a problem. And this problem is due to the second rule of creating a portal. And that rule is when we apply the crucial portal texture, we can only apply it to one face of any of these portal node draw brushes. Why is that a problem? Well, if I just texture these two outside faces, we can see that there's actually quite a bit of a gap between this face and this face. That will cause a leak, because as we know, the portal node draw texture doesn't do anything. And what this means to us is that when the part of the engine that decides whether this is a sealed environment or not for this particular portal cell looks at this cell, it will basically ignore the portal node draw texture, and its only point of reference will be the portal textured faces. So in other words, when the engine looks at this, the portal node draw texture will basically be invisible and will not exist to it. So we can take a look at how the engine would view this by filtering out the portal node draw texture, but leaving our portal textured faces still within view. So to do this, we need to come up to our toolbar and toggle this button on, the big capital D. And what this will do is remove the portal node draw but leave our portal brushes visible. So let's click that on, and when we do, we can quite easily see that when the engine looks at this, there is a massive gap between these two portal textured faces. And what we need to do to prevent this from being a problem is we need to modify our portal brushes so that this face and this face transition seamlessly without any gaps. And to do that, we need to first of all bring back our portal node draw brushes by untoggling this button. And now we can take a look at how we can fix this. And what we need to do, I'll select this brush and come down here, is we need to apply a bevel in this using the edge tool, just like we would with a normal room. So let's do that now. And when I apply the bevel in this brush, we can automatically see that that gap is no longer a problem. And if we just filter out the portal node draw again, we can see that quite clearly. There is no longer a gap, and that is how we create a sealed environment using nothing but portal brushes. And we need to come back in and modify each of these portal brushes in the exact same way, so there is a seamless transition from portal texture to portal texture on each of these faces. A certain amount of interpretation can be applied to these rules, and case in point, for World at War in particular, I've showed you how to bevel a brush to create our transition, yeah? Well, in World at War, I know for a fact this works. It may not work in other versions, but this will be something you have to try for yourself. But if we just intersect these two brushes here, for example, we can see that in normal circumstances that Z fighting would be a big no-no. But if I just apply the portal texture and then filter out our node draw, we can see that that has actually performed the same job as our bevel. That's going to be down to a certain amount of controversy, I think, and that's, like I say, it's down to a bit of liberal interpretation, but the fact is, if we can close these gaps up by just doing that, it's going to save us a lot of time, isn't it, really? So with that being said, we're going to continue on now and leave the controversy of that to discussions on forums. But we're going to just make another cell just as a demonstration of how we can actually make our interconnecting cells. And I'm just going to draw this brush in, and I can make this portal as big or as small as I want it, and that's the advantage of creating portals in this way. So let's continue to create our portals, and since I've already showed you I'm going to intersect these brushes, we might as well just carry on doing that. You can have a go at me later, but I know this works and it saves us a shed load of time, so I'm just going to continue on to create this cell, and as quickly as that we've just created our second cell. And if we just filter out our portal node drawer, we can see that we've created our sealed environment, and that's going to give us leak-free portal cell creation. So we can now take this information and go into our map and create some portals. Just like with the basic outdoor portaling vid, we created a substructure of structural brushes to allow us to create our sealed environment, and to do this technique of portaling we very much need to do the same thing. So I'm just going to filter out everything we don't need right now and just leave ourselves with our structural brushes. And as we can see here, I've added a caulked base, and I've also kept some of the substructure that we made before, and these brushes are just going to help us to create our sealed environment for our portal cells. It's probably worth mentioning that this base brush I drew in is just slightly bigger than our actual map. So if I just right click here and move around, you'll see our terrain come back into view even though it's hidden. And we can see that I've drawn it out, so it's just slightly bigger than our actual map, and that just gives us the peace of mind that we know that if we come to the edge of this brush with our portals, everything within our map will be contained within them. So that's just a little tip, and we're ready now to start creating our portals. And if you remember in the basic vid, we basically split this area up into 3 portal cells, and we're going to do basically the same, except we are going to create these cells using nothing but portal cell brushes. First thing we need to do is decide where our portals are going to go, and if you remember in the intro vid, we split this area into 3 cells basically, so I'm going to do the same thing. So let's get started. We already know the height of our portal cell because it's defined by the highest structural brush in this area. So in this case I'm just going to make it as tall as this garage here, or our outbuilding. That'll do for us, and again, saving us some time, I'm just going to intersect these brushes. And we need to decide where we want to build this cell, and for this case I'm going to use this building's edge here to create our first cell. So I'm just going to bring that up, and it's important, even though we are intersecting our brushes, if we left it like this and apply the portal texture, we're guaranteed to get a leak. So just make sure, even though they're intersecting, they still have to line up. And now we need to fill in our roof area, the same as we did before, and I'm going to intersect this as well. We still have to make sure we draw each brush with the portal node drawer, otherwise we will be asking for trouble. And we need to fill in around these buildings, same as we did before. And we're done. We just need to apply the portal texture, and that's it. I'm just going to filter out quickly just to make sure we've got no gaps. All looks good. So that's our first portal cell created out here. Let's bring back our portal node drawer so we can carry on. And again, I'm just going to split this into 3. So I'm going to carry on creating my portal cell.